So with this vast experience, I welcome Dr. Abdul Alim Khan, sir. Please deliver your talk in the context of climate change and biodiversity in this People's Conference on Climate Change. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity. I welcome the invitation given by the Council for Green Revolution. So today's talk is in wake of COP26. So basically, I'll be talking on some points like what is actually a climate change, and then I'll be going on what is the role of this COP and what are the conventions we previously conducted by the COP convention. I will be talking various concepts. Let me begin my talk. So climate change, what is a climate change? Climate change is generally a shift of temperature and weather patterns that may be due to any reason. That could be due to natural, or that may be due to because of the human or anthropogenic activities. They have told that from since 1800, we can see that a lot of human activities have been a major force to change the climate. And basically, they have told that this climate change or shift in temperature or weather pattern is due to burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas, or whatever the gas we get from the fossil source. So burning of these fossil fuels generate a lot of greenhouse gases. So there are a lot of greenhouse gases. One of them predominant is carbon dioxide and some of the sulfur oxides and some of the nitrogen oxides. So what do? These, when we burn the fossil fuels like coal, oil, or gas, we can see that gradually the temperature of the earth surface increases, okay? And it will also make the particularly problem in the entire atmosphere. What the atmosphere is in the entire atmosphere, it will be making change. What are the changes? We'll try to sort out these things. And now they told that greenhouse gases will cause a lot of trouble. Like they will release carbon dioxide, they'll release methane, or so many things they will be making. And one of the major problem nowadays when we see in the urban communities is the landfills, or whatever the disposal of waste, solid waste. Disposal of solid waste or disposal of garbage has become the major problem or major source of greenhouse gas emissions. So when these garbage or waste coming from domestic origin or from the domestic origin or industrial origin, these wastages or these garbages are being dumped in an open area, and then it is covered with the land or soil, and this will make the anaerobic conditions in the soil, and lot of methane producing agencies or methane producing living organisms will attack, and they will make the lot of methane release, and that will be one of the reason of the emission of greenhouse gas. And these landfill sites are nowadays being due to urbanization, vast urbanization, these areas are being colonized, and a lot of buildings are constructed in the suburb areas. And these suburb areas which are being constructed, used for construction purpose, are not suitable because of the emissions of the gas from the garbage decomposition. So as I told you just now, that climate and weather are generally two different terms. Climate is generally for long areas, like long zones, but weather is for the small areas or small places, that is. And as I told you just now, the climate change, what is a climate change? And what are the measures of climate change? How can you find out the climate has changed, or how the temperature has been affected, or how a weather of a place is affected? So all these things are known by 5 simple kind of measures like glaciers. Recently, in the last year, we have seen the melting of glaciers in the Uttarakhand, and precipitation trends rise in the sea levels, and we can have the quantitation of carbon dioxide concentration in the air. That could be also one of the measure. And then comes is the greenhouse effect, what we know. And now I will be talking to you something about a different thing, that what WHO report is saying. WHO, or World Health Organization, in recent time has given a report which says that 90% of the world children are breathing in toxic air. So this is an alarming kind of warning report. Whatever WHO report is there, the WHO report is saying that whatever the whatever the air is there now used for breathing purpose, or whatever the respiratory system is accepting the air, this air is unsafe. So you can guess the percentage, what the percentage of air, more than 90% of the air is unsafe air. It is why this is unsafe. This is unsafe because the world is getting lot of pollution or lot of pollutants. Why we are getting this pollutants, or why pollution is happening? Just because of anthropogenic activities, or just we can say this is due to the whatever human man-made activities are there. One of the reason for all these is the man-made activities, and major is impact on the climate change. Major what are the level of pollution is there, the major reason of this pollution is in having its impact on the particularly climate change. So as per a NGO in Europe, they have made a survey in the different countries around the Europe, and they have told the 7 factors are getting affected by the particular pollution. The 7 factors are like CO2 emissions and PM, the whatever the particulate matter is there, it is more than 2.5 in urban areas, and air pollution is contributing to the deaths of humans, not only plants and animals, but humans are getting death sentence because of the unknown air pollution. And then the quality, as I told you just now, landfills where the garbages are buried, these are also the source for making the groundwater polluted. And amount of waste, amount of forest area, amount of protected area for terrestrial and marine kind of living forms is also getting day by day affected, or it is a major factor. So here they have told that the emissions, whatever the emissions are there, the emissions are very high when we compare these levels in last 2 million years ago. Now the earth is facing a great debacle or great demerit. So here the most polluted country, as the most vast populated country is also China, and the polluted country is also China. China is giving more amount of carbon dioxide, followed by United States, and we are fortunately or unfortunately in the 3rd place in the first 5 positions. If we check the first 5 positions, our country is in the 3rd place out of 5. So as the first leading polluted or carbon dioxide contributing country is China, and followed by China, United States, and then India, then comes is Russia and Japan. Though Japan is not dense populated, though it is contributing a high amount of carbon dioxide to the ecosystem or environment. So this is told that whatever forest area is there, as per that NGO, they have told that this is the Finland. Finland is the topmost green, I mean to say, country compared with other countries you can see in this graph. And then you can see the annual particulate air 2.5 in the urban countries. So we can see Turkey is the most important, or it is the first leading polluting country for the atmosphere. And Sweden again is in the last place. And then comes this deaths generally due to air pollution, polluted air. They have seen per capita that 1 lakh. So they found that Latvia is the one which is having leading deaths due to polluted air. Again, Sweden is in the last place. So here the waste generating countries per kg per capita is Denmark. Denmark is a country which is giving lot of waste in the in whole Europe. Okay, then Poland is a country which is giving less waste or generating less domestic and industrial waste. So now we are going to talk something about UNFCCC. It is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It was particularly framed in 1992 by United Nations Conference on Earth, on Environment and Development. That is also called as Earth Summit and also called as Rio or Rio Conference. So where they have made the particularly selected countries, by selecting some countries, they have made 3 Rio conventions, and they have made the COP, Convention of Parties. Okay, so in this we have the particularly one of the Rio convention is on the biological diversity, other one is on the combat the desertification, what land is losing the green life. To stop it, they have generally gone for the particularly a convention on land, that is the combat for desertification. And in 1994, 197 countries has joined the CNFCC, and the secretariat was made, and it is the whatever CNFCC is there, it is in Germany. It is located, its office is located in the particularly Bonn, Germany, Bonn. Okay, now we are going to talk something about the particularly Convention of Parties. Okay, so here we can see that COP meets every year. So this whatever CNFCC is there, it holds particularly the convention every year. And we can see that the first convention was held in Germany itself at Berlin. Okay, and followed by that we have lot other countries which have holded this convention, that is COP. So the COP president normally is from United Nations regional groups like Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Caribbean, and Central and Eastern Europe and Western Europe. So these people will be the president of the COP office. And the president is usually the environment minister. Whatever the COP president, whatever the UNFCC president is there, he will be the environment minister from the country, whatever the regional regions we have told. From the regional, he will be, the environment minister will be the president of this particular convention. And we can see that it was started in the COP1 was, now the present we are at the COP26. So this COP1 was held in Germany and followed by so many other conventions. You can see here, like one was held at COP8 in our country. Okay, it was the main theme or aim of this was to mitigate the climate change, and followed by that Indonesia and so many other countries have organized this convention. And we can see the last was held in 2019, and after that, due to COVID, the convention was not conducted. After Spain, the next was in Glasgow, just now what we are seeing. So this is the overall list of the particularly climate, I mean to say, climate change conventions, which are the major conventions of the climate change, which has occurred in different places. These are not the conventions which are being held by UNFCC. So these are the major ones. Like we can see, the target of this was first, which was held in 1971 in Iran, was for protecting the wetlands, and the other one was for Stockholm. At Stockholm, it was conducted in 2004, and it was to avoid or reduce the burden of organic pollutants. And then we have one more, it was in the particularly wake of endangered species of wild fauna and flora in 1975. And again, it was a conservation of biological diversity. And Bonn Convention was for migratory species of wild animals. And Vienna Convention was held, and it was in wake of ozone protection, ozone layer protection. And likewise, we can see the Kyoto Protocol, which is very important. Montreal Protocol and Kyoto Protocol are very important ones. Montreal was for ozone, and Kyoto was for particularly reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. And likewise, we can see the again Cartagena Protocol is also very important, and frequently it is discussed in our Council for Green Revolution meetings. that Cartagena Protocol. So this is a very important convention which was held in particularly in year 2003 for the safety of the biological diversity. And Nagoya is a protocol which is very important for benefit sharing of benefits from one country to other country, whatever the biological diversity is utilized. So sharing the benefits of that is being the most important part of this. And then COP24 was held in United Convention on Climate Change. Likewise, 21 and Minamata is also very important, because Minamata was in the aim for protecting the health from the adverse effects of mercury, because mercury, the pollution of mercury compounds was also very important part. And the 2019 was held in Paris, and it was for the framework of climate change. Okay, so now this is the present generation. What we are now witnessing is COP26. It is generally for reducing the use of fossil energy sources, reducing the use of fossil energy like petrol, diesel products, whatever products are there, reduce and decrease the carbon emissions. Whatever carbon emissions is there, that is a main aim what is held in the Glasgow. And like this, I will be talking, summing up my talk with these few points, that what happens when temperature increases. So we can see that whatever the temperature is there, increase in temperature generally have a bad effect on the growth, crop yield. Whatever crop yield is there, crop yield will be badly affected. Why? Because here we can see that whatever the photosynthetics, whatever the high amount of temperature is there, increase in temperature is there, increase in temperature generally will generally lower the particularly yield. And generally we can see that whatever the grains to be made, whatever the grains made are there in the panicle, that will decrease. And the filling of the particularly seeds, whatever seeds is it, that is also gets decreased. So here you can compare it. Here it is a comparison between the plant grown at high temperature and plant grown at ambient temperature, optimum temperature. You can compare both of them. So here it is a spikelet of the wheat. You can see where you can compare the yellow zone is nothing but it is the particularly the high temperature impact on the grain filling. And the atmospheric, if the carbon dioxide increases, what happens? Increase in carbon dioxide will have lot of impact, like exchange of gas will reduce in both the C3 and C4 plants, and the plant will be unable to accumulate more and more sugar. And like we can see, lot of other impact will be there on the photosynthesis efficiency, water use efficiency, capacity, and the growth, and all that will be affected because of this atmospheric increase. So they have told that the elevated carbon dioxide is going to be the very bad impact on the atmospheric ozone also. Now, the more important indirect effect of the climate change is on the pests and diseases. So due to change in temperature, generally we can see that whatever the pollinating insects are there, the pollinating insects will get affected. And then we can see that whatever the pollination time of this will change, and a lot of other insects which are harmful insects, pathogenic insects, they will start infecting the plants, and the crops will get a lot of diseases just because of change in the temperature. And the untimely change in temperature will impact on the crop yield. So, and also we can see that the increase will also impact on the the climate change also have its effect on the weeds, unwanted plants. Unwanted plants also will increase a lot in the wake of the climate change. So with this, I will come to an end over here. So over to the organizers.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmad Abdul Alim Khan, sir. It was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Umameshwar Garu, and all the members of Council for Green Revolution. I can see that Dr. Tulsi Rao is there over here, and it's been a long time since I met him. And good evening, Tulsi Rao sir. So, and I think there are different number of attendees, I'm sure from different backgrounds, and I'm sure there are a lot of interesting sessions which were held. And sorry, I've not been able to visit the Earth Center, and that's on my list to do when I go to Sri Sailam. I'll hopefully, Umameshwara Garu, I'll be able to join your Earth Center and see the place what you're doing over there.
Welcome, madam. Welcome. Whenever you're free on the way, please drop in here. Thank you. Please, ma'am.
So just for those who are not very familiar with the WWF as an organization, I don't know why it's not. Just give me 1 minute. The slides are not moving for some reason. Is my presentation visible?
Yeah, now we
okay,
can.
Now it is visible. So for those who are new and have not heard of the organization, very quickly to let you know that this is an organization which is more than 50 years old. We celebrated 50 years in 2019. We were born in 1969 in India, and over 75 locations in India, we have our offices where we work on various programs. Like if you look at what the mission of WWF India is to stop the degradation of the planet's natural environment and build a future in which humans live in harmony with nature. In fact, if you look at what Umameshwara Garu was saying a little while ago, that the Glasgow COP26, which is going on, is kind of a key deciding summit, which is going to decide, I think, the face of the world, what is going to happen next. And it is a mixed bag of discussions which is happening, some good, some not very good. Our Prime Minister has committed, given a very, very ambitious commitment of going net zero by 1970. And we hope that we will be able to reach that, because there are so many other pressures and drivers that we have, which as a developing country, one needs to also keep in mind on, we need to develop, we need to have many of our, production sector has to work so that there is employment, and things like COVID, which has really hit hard on the countries like India, on the population of so many people left rendered jobless. So we are always, as an organization, also working to reduce the humanity's ecological footprint, humanity's pressure on this planet. We work in very critical regions of India, critical landscapes, where we are working to protect the magnificent biodiversity. And that is why we say that we have to develop a world where humans live in harmony with nature. And that can be done. There are many successful examples of this happening now. So just very quickly, when I was told that, what is to talk on biodiversity and climate change, and I'm sure many of you here would have heard this word biodiversity, and everybody knows what biodiversity is. But what is the role of biodiversity? How does biodiversity help? So biodiversity boosts ecosystem productivity, where each species, no matter how small it is, has an important role to play. So that is something which we have to realize, that if a bee disappears today, that is a very big worry about bee colonies. Bee colonies are disappearing globally and also in India. Bee colonies are so it is a matter of concern. One would have not thought a small thing like a bee. What role do we have? Today, everybody talks about the huge role that bee plays in our food production. So these are very important. So biodiversity is important to maintain viable ecosystems, because biodiversity is what keeps this earth stable. And without biodiversity, everything will become corrupt. There will be overflowing of one species. And sometimes there'll be sometimes actually there is a disbalance. And no single species should be allowed to increase in number. There has to be a balance, because otherwise it could be that one species is overrunning the entire ecosystem, and that can cause a problem to other species. It can cause a problem to the producers. So there is a lot of this critical balance which we need to maintain. We need to understand the complex interaction which is there between all of these, including fresh water, including breathable air, which has become a rare commodity, I would say. It's become very, very critical today. Like, we are talking about breathable air, because if you all have seen, like, this particular season, or have also read in newspapers, this season as it starts, places like Delhi and Gurgaon and all, they have really bad time having the entire haze which spreads over because of crop burning, because of vehicular pollution. So everything is mixed together, and there is a huge big conundrum of all kinds of gases, which makes really life very difficult. In fact, today I read a very interesting article a little while ago, which just flashed on my phone, and Canada has declared its first patient due to climate change, which is very, very interesting to me. They had declared their first patient, which means that because of the increased heat, a place like Canada, which you think is extremely cold, and we all prepare to take lots of woolen if anybody is going to study in Canada. And here you are talking about extreme weather events where, because of the heat, Canada is saying that it is declaring its first patient which has been impacted because of climate change. That patient suffered a heat stroke, and that the doctor who's attending to them, Dr. Merritt, he has said that this is because the heat stroke is because of the climate change, because of the increased hot days in Canada, which is very surprising. And it was quite a shock to me when I read this article today in the morning. So if you look at what are the benefits, I think the benefits which biodiversity gives, and all of us know about it, nothing which I am telling you new, all of you know about it: the food, fuel, fiber. We have provisioning services that the biodiversity gives us, like production of food, or regulating services. We get control of temperature through water bodies, through forest, control of climate and diseases. Then you have supporting services like nutrient cycling and crop pollination. These are also, again, and cultural services. All of us, as soon as the pandemic got over, I'm sure lots and lots of us were all running towards forest. We were running towards beaches. We were running towards lakes. We wanted to all get out of our four walls of the house and go and be amongst nature, and take out that mask for a while and at least sit there and breathe freely. So that is the cultural value, the recreational value also. That also one has to take into account. So all this, at what cost do we get? Completely free of cost, which I don't think even talk about valuing. And valuation of this is a very, very complex science. A lot of people are attempting over the payment for ecosystem service, but yet not very completely understood or not accepted also globally, saying that payment for ecosystem services is still a very debatable area, and not very many people are considering that even now. So WWF internationally has been coming out with a Living Planet report. Many of you may be aware of this. This is a report that we produce every 2 years, and it talks about planet's biodiversity, planet's environment, what is happening. It is led by experts from all across organizations and universities, academic institutions, research institutions. And this LPR, as we call it, is a health check for the planet and shows how the natural world is doing today, what it faces, what are the threats it is facing, and what this means for us human beings. Ultimately, we always talk about us, isn't it? We are not bothered about what happens to the rest of them. So the conclusions and recommendations in this LPR are based on analysis of many, many measures of biodiversity. And one of the biggest is the Living Planet Index. So the last one which was published was the 13th edition. And this 13th edition has brought out very interesting and very stark and very shocking results. And what are those? The Living Planet Index is a measure of the state of the world's biological diversity and is based on population trends of vertebrates species, which includes both terrestrial, freshwater, and marine habitats. This has been adopted by the Convention on Biological Diversity, or as we call it, CBD, as an indicator of progress towards its 2011 to 2020 target, which is to take effective and urgent action to halt the loss of biodiversity. This is what the CBD wants to do. And this particular report that we have, which WWF comes out, this is used as a very key indication. In that, we also have the Red List Index, which is based on the IUCN. I think all of you must be familiar. IUCN stands for International Union of Conservation of Natural Resources, now called the World Conservation Union. It has a red data list of threatened species, and it shows the trends in survival probability. And the red list index value of 1, if you look at over here, index value of 1 equates to all species having gone extinct. A constant value over time indicates that the overall, see if you see constant value over time, sorry, my cursor, yeah, it indicates that the overall extinction risk for the group is unchanged. If you look at these, sorry. And if the rate of biodiversity loss is reducing, the index would show an upward trend. That means that it is increasing over time. A decline in the index would mean that the species are being threatened and are being threatened with extinction, and at a very accelerating rate. That means that there is a lot of concern for that. If you look at the species habitat index on your left hand corner, it shows that human land use change and also increasingly climate change are altering landscapes worldwide. Using remotely sensed data and model-based predictions, they offer an increasing strong and near global capture of these changes to the land cover. So the species habitat index, which you're seeing over here on your left-hand side, quantifies the resulting implication for species populations. Say, for example, for thousands of species with habitats which are validated worldwide, there is a huge change. And between 2000 and 2018, the index has fallen by 2%, which shows that there is a remarkable decline, as you can see, in the species habitat index. And this is only increasing. Close the door. So if you look at the biodiversity intactness index, and this estimates how much originally present biodiversity remains on an average across the ecological communities within a region. It focuses on the effects of land use and related pressures, which have so far been the dominant drivers of biodiversity loss. So because it is estimated across a very large set of ecologically diverse and plant species, animals and plant species, the biodiversity intactness index is a useful index for ecosystem ability to provide benefit to people. So if you look at this index, it will be able to tell you that, world over, if you look at, I don't know if it is visible or not, the index, how it is coming down. In certain countries, the index is really very sharply declining, especially if you look at African, or if you look at your Asia Pacific. So these are a growing concern that there is a decline in the biodiversity intactness index. That means we are losing biodiversity at a very accelerated pace. It is on the decline, but we need to stabilize it. And if we start looking at the populations, if we start doing something about it, we will be able to first check the decline, start stabilizing the population, and then it has to head towards recovery. So that is why what Umameshwar Garu was saying a little while ago, that we will need to see how can we halt this decline and how can we go towards a path of recovery. And this particular decade of 2020 to 2030 is going to be very critical. This programs like this COP26, the COP which is happening in Glasgow, is going to be very, very critical in what the major output is going to be, what are the leaders across the world they're going to decide. And it will be essential that we take action to change this trend and bend the curve of biodiversity loss. This means not only stopping the decline, but also making changes to allow it to recover. So this is what we will need to do. So this is definitely an SOS for nature. Over the past decade, human activities have destroyed and degraded species, degraded forest, degraded wetlands, grasslands, and which ultimately threatens our own human well-being. 75% of the Earth's ice-free land surface has already been significantly altered. Most of the oceans are polluted. More than 85% of our wetlands are lost. This destruction is led to 1 million species, almost close to 500,000 animals and plants and insects, species being threatened with extinction over the next 100 years. And many of these extinctions are preventable, and we can definitely restore nature. I don't know if some of you have seen the film which Dr. Sir David Attenborough has recently come out. It was launched early this year, A Life on Our Planet. Last year, we launched the Our Planet series. This year, there was another Netflix WWF film called A Life on Our Planet. And in that, Sir David Attenborough has said that there is still hope. There are 4 major areas that we need to look at. And those 4 major areas are eliminating waste, minimizing waste, definitely what the PM committed to going net zero. So globally, we'll have to work about that. Rewilding the wild, that is how we will bring back the species, and reviving our oceans. So there is definitely hope. If you look at the extinctions, they say that 1 in 5 plants are threatened with extinction. And the number of the documented terrestrial plants extinction is much higher than even for mammals, birds, and amphibians combined. And all of us know that plants are the structural and ecological foundation of all the terrestrial ecosystems and provide the fundamental life support on Earth. And they are vital to our human health, vital for our food and our well-being. Soil also is a very critical component of this natural environment. We have huge issues about soil fertility all over India. We have used excessively of all the chemical and pesticides and all. Nothing which I'm saying new, it's not new science. all of us know. Over 500,000 insect species are threatened with extinction. And this decline is very high. I already talked to you about the bee populations and the bee colonies, which are rapidly declining in our country as well. And climate change is a big, big growing threat to nature. And recent analysis have shown that the combined effect of climate change and land use change is much worse than just the land use change alone. So the combined effect is going to be really, really disastrous. So what is driving this decline? Global economic growth in the last century has changed our world unrecognizably, driving exponential health, knowledge, and standard of living improvement. I think all of you will agree that we have higher, earlier there was higher mortality rate. Today our the generations which live longer has definitely increased. Our health machinery has also increased, and I think post the pandemic even more governments have been trying to improve the health infrastructure. But that has come, all this improvement on better access to facilities, better lifestyles have come at a very big cost to nature and the stability of the Earth's operating system. So values underpin changes in the society, which has led to human activities that are undertaking the direct drivers on nature. The main cause of this dramatic decline in species population on land is observed in habitat loss, overexploitation, climate change. All these are the drivers which are driving this entire. So I said at the starting that is biodiversity at the tipping point. It definitely is. It is a very, very critical and crucial time of in the Earth's in the planet Earth's history, where we are seeing almost close to 68% decline of vertebrate diversity, which is very shocking. 68% decline in the vertebrate diversity. So our planet operates as a living system, as we all know. Biodiversity is an important part of the system. So the direct threats, direct benefits which we get, we will lose it out if we continue with business as usual scenario, because we all are connected. Almost all aspects of human health and well-being, we depend on nature. And if you look at the risk from climate change and how it is going to impact all of us, increasingly we are going to see extreme weather events, which is something which is become a regular feature now. Just 2 days back, my colleagues reported from Chennai that there's huge flooding of the Chennai city, and the report which had very recently come out that climate change is going to really submerge large number of cities across the world, and sadly many Indian cities were listed, like Visakhapatnam, like Chennai, some Kolkata, all these cities, Mumbai. They said that that's going to impact. So it is going to be very, very disastrous. And then we are going to see increasing number of such kind of diseases, because we are we are entering into spaces which were only occupied by animals earlier, and we are interacting more directly with animals, and this is causing the viruses to jump into human beings, and this is going to be a very, very difficult situation as far as human health is concerned. It is going to impact us more and more, and I hope that all of us wake up to this fact that climate change is ultimately also going to impact human health, and that we cannot be any silent observers, or we cannot say that nothing is going to happen to me. Climate change happens only in the Arctic and the Antarctic and the Himalayas. Maybe what does it happen to me in Hyderabad? It doesn't matter to me in Hyderabad. In fact, I remember meeting somebody very early on when I came to Hyderabad, and one gentleman, and I told him that so climate change is going to impact Hyderabad also, and says, no, climate change can never impact Hyderabad. He was very sure about that. But diseases like COVID-19 is a reminder of the intimate and delicate relationship between people and the planet, and spread of zoonotic diseases definitely is going to be increasing, and climate change is going to act as a very big multiplier for these kind of zoonotic diseases. So what do we need to do? We need a new deal for nature and people. So what we are, where we are talking about decline in vertebrate diversity by 68%, and so we have to go towards the positive side. From the negative side towards the positive side, there is definitely a lot of hope. We can reverse this trend, because biodiversity is, like I said, essential for food security. And one more shocking thing which I would like to tell you all is that the food waste, many of us do not put any focus on this, but today one of the biggest concern is that 1/3 of all food is lost or wasted. 1/3 of the food that is produced globally is lost or wasted. And in fact, in India also today, we are becoming a country that is bringing out a lot of food waste. We say that we have a lot of mouths to feed, we have a huge population to feed, but at the same time, I feel that there is a lot of food waste that we are also doing in India, and that food just goes directly into the dumps and does not end up anywhere. So that is also a growing concern. So if we carry on with business as usual, if our current lifestyle means that humans will need 1.6 times more than the amount that the earth can generate, it is like living off 1.6 earth, that what we are doing right now. And every year we leave nature weaker, we with fewer resources and less able to ensure for our future survival. So this underscores the need for a global new deal for nature and people, and we need to set there has to be ambitious goals by everybody. And this also doesn't mean that as this is a work of the government, this government can do, or I am not responsible for me, I am doing this, I am doing that. It doesn't work like that, because for both people and wildlife to thrive now and the future, and in the future we need a healthy planet. As you can see, it is written over here, with rich variety of plants and animals, vibrant ecosystems, and like throwing a stone into a pond, the ripple effect of any changes touches every part of our planet. I think this is something which all of us know. So, people, if there are youngsters in the group, if there are people in this group, they can actually start developing, get an idea about what is happening in their own surroundings. What should we look at in our own surroundings? What is it that I can do about biodiversity? Can I understand what is there in my own area? Can I record what is there in my own area? This is very important. We need to know our surroundings. We hardly know our own surroundings. We talk about large pictures. Please do not talk about large pictures. If we start acting locally at our own level by understanding what is available, and if by just protecting, it is very heartening that when I get calls from local citizens of the city that there is a tree being cut over here, or somebody is just come illegally and chopping up a tree. It is very heartening, because you know that people are awake, people are aware and want to take action. So this is something that we all need to do. So that's all I had to say, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take the answers.
Yes, thank you, madam. It's a great and wonderful presentation. It's a synoptic view you have presented on what's happening around the world. Sorry, sir. I welcome Dr. Tulsi Rao, sir. He is the senior most and very prominent, renowned biodiversity and wildlife expert of India. and he holds a PhD from Kakti University in Environmental Sciences. Is one of the very committed and dedicated forest officer. His work can be seen in the rejuvenation of wildlife and conservation of forest in the Seychelles Tiger Reserve. We served a long time there, and we can see the results what he dedicated there. And he's the recipient of many international awards, and he visited many countries on the conservation programs. And he is one of the author of this our prestigious book. He the lead author actually for this Eastern Ghats Environment Outlook. He did a marvelous work in mangrove conservation program in Koringa Wildlife Sanctuary, and there also he published a world-class book on Koringa conservation program. And because Koringa is one of the area, a mangrove area, which is vulnerable to climate change and all these things. So he has a vast experience. It's my, I cannot describe his biodata in a brief and a short time. It's a vast experience, and he has been a constant mentor and advisor to CGR and Grace. So now he agreed to speak to us, maybe in spite of all his schedules and other programs. I welcome sir to speak on this occasion, sir, and share your experience and messages, thoughts. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Umameshwara Garu, for giving me this great opportunity to speak with the people who are working in the biodiversity and, of course, outside also. Since the past two speakers delivered the lecture on the science and it's in science part of the biodiversity and climate and the origin of the issues and all. Only just so the impact climate change, the vice versa. So, mainly these two are very important subjects: biodiversity and the climate change. It is a variability among living organisms. That means variety of the species, the living species that have been evolved for ages, for millions of years, they have been evolving and evolving. This earth has come into existence about 450 crores of years back. That means 4.5 billion of years. Since then, after 100 crores of years, first living thing has emerged in the oceans. Since then, the evolutionary process is taking place, and now you can see what all you are seeing. The kind of hospitable and what the Panchabhutas are. Nela, that is earth, near water, Nela, Niru, Ning is sky. Is you that need to exist this planet. So far to human minds, to our knowledge, this is the only available living planet on which we are living. So we are the junior-most species on this planet when comparing with the species that are not only our contemporary animals and plants, even those species which have been got extinct. So there have already 5 mass extinctions taken place, and most of the species wiped out from the this planet. Oh, sorry. The next mass extinction is going to take place because of the thoughtless actions of the human beings on this planet. So therefore, this variety of living organisms, both the plants and animals, they live in a complex web. When I say the complex web, that means it's a kind of fabric, ecological fabric, in which all the species are linking with each other, with one another, between the species, among the species they live, and they share their contributions to each other. So that's why we call it the ecological complex. When I say the ecological complex, that means during photosynthesis, plants, they manufacture carbohydrates and break the H2O, water, into hydrogen and oxygen. Oxygen will be liberated into the air, which we inhale. Otherwise, we don't have the oxygen to breathe in. So the trees are very important component of the planet. So also the animals also contribute a lot to the environment and ecology. These two requires non-living environment called soil, water, and the sky in the sense, the fire, and all other things what I narrated in the beginning itself. So these are the part of the biodiversity. So when I say about an animal, it is an organism. That organism has been came into existence because of the arrangement of nucleotides at genetic level. Therefore, biodiversity is also seen as a part of the genetic environment. Okay, genetic diversity leads to the species diversity. When I say the species diversity, that means the populations of different species, they form into communities. Communities. Each community depends on the interactions of living and non-living environment. So all these communities, they form into the ecosystems, and the ecosystems, the integration of the ecosystem that form into the biosphere. From the depths of the land mass, depths of the oceanic mass, into the air, onto the surface of waters and land, into the air to some distance, to a certain distance, where we can find different animals and plant bodies. That's how biodiversity is a very important and a prominent, it plays an excellent role in making us to live very comfortably on this planet. So Earth is the home to countless species of flora and fauna. So known as the diversity of life. It's also called biodiversity. There's a variation of life on the Earth. It is a major factor in nature's resilience. When I say the resilience, so the variety of species on this planet, along with their habitat conditions and the complex web of life. So all these things contribute for the life on this planet. So biodiversity is a major factor in nature's resilience. When I say the resilience, when all these flora or fauna, when they consume for their very sustenance, again recycling takes place, and the system will be a perpetual system. That means like a SDGs, self-sustaining development goals, like that. The entire environment is a self-sustained ecosystem. So only the healthy ecosystems are being created on this planet, and each ecosystem, it is interdependent webs of living organisms with their physical environment. When I say the physical environment, maybe to the oxygen cycle, nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, all these things, phosphorus and sulfur cycles, hydrological cycles. These are the complementary systems that help creating the healthy ecosystems on this planet. Our ecosystems provide us with clean air, fresh waters, food, resources, other resources, and medicinal plants. Because of our rapid population growth, and unsustainable consumption patterns. These are the primary causes of the habitat and biodiversity loss on this planet. This is now happening so up to 10,000 times faster than for millions of years before. The major threats of the biodiversity are, you all know that already, my previous speakers, they already told, habitat loss, climate change, and many other factors, and increase of the human populations, and developmental projects, and unwanted developments. All these things contribute the loss of the biodiversity on this planet. If you look at the IPBES report, 2019 report, it has identified that 1 million species are now at risk of disappearance. IUCN Red List of Threatened Species also identified decline in 41% of the amphibians, 25% of mammals, 34% of conifers, 13% of birds, 31% of sharks and rays from the ocean, and 33% of reef-building corals. These reef-building corals are the main absorbers of the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and 27% of the crustaceans, they're all threatened with extinction. Extinction means we can't see them anymore on this planet. So that is the kind of thing. Already my previous speakers that talked about the extinction rate and all these things. See, as told by Madam Faridaji, WWF's latest Living Planet report also estimated that we have lost about 68% of all vertebrate wildlife populations since 1970s. That's more than half of all birds, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and fish gone in just 50 years. Not even a single species has been created by the human beings. They are all the products of the nature. And when we don't have the capacity to create them, and we don't have the ethical ethics to kill them, to push them back to the brink of extinction. So it's all the only one species that the Homo sapiens creating a lot of devastating effect on the not only in the ecosystems, even they're the contributors for the climate change. Biodiversity loss is a big threat to the humans as do by the climate change also. Loss is attributable to several causes, but by far the biggest culprits are the habitat destruction, as I told you, overexploitation of the species, and now the climate change. It is also contributing a lot for the disappearance of the species from this planet. Climate change is climate change is the natural. There are two: natural climate change and induced climate change. Natural climate change happens because of the certain variations in the climate conditions. But artificial climate change or induced climate change is because of the human interventions. So changes in climates is a natural. For example, the last ice age, that's 11,500 years back, it has happened, and that time global temperatures were 5 degrees centigrade lower than what it is now, the average temperature of the present scenario. So, as is told by my previous speakers, climate is the long-term atmospheric conditions, and weather varies constantly, but we are now experiencing temperature rises at unprecedented speed. Scientists believe that human activities are responsible for this climate change, and climate change is altering many Earth's ecosystems. When I say the Earth's ecosystem, the ecosystems that are there on this planet, right from the tundras to the temperate regions and to the subtropical and tropical regions. When I say the tropical again, we'll be talking about the ecosystems of wet evergreen forests and wet evergreen forests, semi-evergreen forests, moist deciduous, decidual forests, littoral and tidal forests, and all these come into our pictures actually. So the climate change is altering many of our Earth's ecosystems. Historically, we have depended on all elements of the biosphere for all our needs. What are our elements? Air that we breathe, the food we eat from the ecosystem services, ecosystem productivities, the energy we use, the materials we need for all purposes of our dwelling on this planet. However, unsustainable human activities like producing chlorofluorocarbons and creating more carbon dioxide, sending more carbon monoxide, and all these things, they are creating unsustainable and unpardonable changes in the not only the climate, even the biosphere itself. However, unsustainable human activities and overexploitation of the species and natural resources that make up the habitats and ecosystems of all wildlife are imperiling the world's biodiversity. So nearly a quarter of all species are presently at risk of going extinct. Extinct means no more we can see them on this planet again and again. And there are many such species at the brink of extinction. Now you see, till 1970s, during 1970s, the tiger became one of the highly endangered animal. Many top predatory species, they have become at the verge of extinction. And thanks to the governments taken decision promptly, even the crocodiles, 3 species of crocodiles of India and 20 species of crocodiles of the world, they were also at the verge of extinction. Thanks to the FAO and the United Nations, we could able to bring them back into the life. So nearly quarter of all species present at risk of going extinct in the coming decades, and their demise would only speed up the disappearance of the countless others. They are interdependent for food, interdependent for the trophic at energy levels and all these things. Wild plants and animals in their many varied and beautiful forms, as a component of the world's biodiversity, they're also going to vanish from the earth. We'll work to raise awareness of the multitude of benefits of wildlife to people. It is high time we must educate the people. However, whatever they be, maybe from the zero literacy to the even up to the doctorates, I think we need to give a proper scientific explanation to convince these people, particularly those communities who live in closest proximity to the ecosystem. That means tribal who are living there. They are much better than us. They have excellent knowledge. Recently, you must have seen in the WhatsApp circulations, postings, one of a tribal lady, the old lady, got the Padma Shri award. As over, now coming to the climate actions. So far, our 2 speakers, they spoke about the catastrophic hazards that are going to happen because of the climate change. Now, about 190 world leaders and tens of thousands of government representatives, business and citizens, now they're gathering there at 26th session of the conference of the parties in Glasgow for the last 10 days. They are working there. There are lots of negotiations are taking place. Lots of side events are also taking place as to how to reduce the climate change gases that are contributing for its destruction of the ecosystems and all that. So what can we expect from this COP26? Now the national leaders are gathered, and we should ask them to take the necessary steps to reduce emissions, mobilize funding, and boost adaptations and resilience capacity. I made an experiment of the resilience capacity while I was working in Sri Salm as a deputy conservator of forest. The highly degraded area I could able to brought back into the natural vegetation woodlot, and because of certain very low cost interventions, you could able to bring it. See, once you stop all interventions, the nature knows how to bring it back into its because of its resilience capacity. Countries are also being asked to come forward with ambitious 2030 emissions reductions targets that align with reaching net zero by the middle of the century. See, already our Prime Minister has promised to bring our country to net zero by 2070. I think like that, all other countries have to pronounce that by some time they should bring their countries into the net zero emissions. To achieve these goals, developed countries will need to make good on their promise. They are giving promises and not fulfilling their promises at the end of the period. And they must mobilize at least $100 billion in climate finance per year for developing countries by 2030. Public and private sector should also assist financially and need to provide the trillions required to secure global net zero. Bringing global net zero, it is not for somebody else. It is for very existence of the human beings, Homo sapiens, our next generation people. Yesterday we have seen the Tamil Nadu girl, how she has pronounced, how she could able to spell out her anguish before all the world leaders and got high appreciations from the world leaders. Public and private sector financial institutions will also contribute to the bringing global net zero. Parties are also discussing several articles of the Paris Agreement. They set the target of keeping global warming this century to less than 2 degrees centigrade, while pursuing efforts to keep it much below 1.5 degrees centigrade. Then this also includes finance. The negotiations are happening. This includes finance, carbon markets, loss and damage, transparency, and looking to wrap up important technical details of the Paris rule book. So these are some of the things. So people discuss the Paris Agreement and also discuss how far they could able to fulfill their commitments. So in case if they did not, they should also add it up to the present negotiations. What is that we want to see at the end of the climate talks? World as a society, we hope that COP26 will result in an increased global action on 3 core policy areas. What are these core policy areas? That is a mitigation. That means reduction of these agents, climate agents, which are contributing deleterious gases emissions into the atmosphere. That is the mitigation. Adaptation. How best we can adapt our lifestyles, how best we can adapt the food yields, crop yields, and all these things. Adaptation to the changing environment, changing climate conditions, and some areas which are permanently drought areas may see the heavy rainfall and floodings. And those areas known for high rainfall may become the drought-prone areas. So, sorry. So we need to have a good strategy to adapt to the changing climates. And also we need good finance. Sufficient bulk of finance is needed to attend, especially by the third world countries and poor countries like Africa, and even we are not a very rich country to cope with all these kind of things. This means credible political commitment is needed from the world leaders and from each country to reduce national emissions and adapt to climate change known as nationally determined contributions, NDCs, along with agreement on critical technical issues, exchange of the technical issues, demonstrated movement by the private sector, and financial commitments by the public and private financial institution. These should also take place, and people should come forward to contribute their might. Maybe lots of companies are working, getting lots of profits, and they must share some percentage of share to the to protect our climate and ecosystems of the world. To achieve these goals, we should developed countries shall need, I told you already, 100 billions, and parties now attending to the COP26. Now they're discussing several articles of the Paris Agreement. And what kind of hopes we should expect at the end of these talks? Hope that COP26 will result in increased global action. Together, with united actions, we should take place on 3 core policies, as already I told you: mitigation, adaptation, and finance. And another contributor, gaseous contributor, is the methane. World Climate Program meeting of experts at Vienna in 1981. They have discussed on the role of carbon dioxide and climate variations, projected increase of global temperature by 1.5 degrees centigrade to 3.5 degrees centigrade through doubling of these carbon dioxide concentrations. So by doubling the carbon dioxide, the global temperature is going to increase from 1.5 to 3.5 degrees centigrade. Then imagine at 1.1 degrees Celsius, we are facing all these kind of things. If the scenario is not controlled and we may reach up to 3.5 degrees of Celsius centigrade, then imagine, and temperature will soar up to maximum, even more than 50 degrees on this planet. And UNEP report says the methane is crucial for short-term climate actions. See, methane, a lot of methane is, even the developed countries, they're saying, even USA, the president of the past president of USA, he was telling that India is contributing maximum percentage of methane to the world, into the climate, into the weather. So, because we are the largest, apart from other small countries, we are the largest production of the rice. So, rice fields, they produce maximum methane. This gas has got a global warming potential of more than 80 times that of carbon dioxide. That makes it a powerful heat trapper. Methane traps the heat in the atmosphere much higher than the carbon dioxide's contribution. In practice, this means reducing methane emissions can have a faster impact on the reducing global warming and buy us some valuable time. It creates a heat in the atmosphere, and by adopting certain mitigation measures, I think we can reduce also the heat trap in the atmosphere. Over 60 countries have joined the global methane pledge to cut the methane emissions by 30% by 2030. The report shows it is feasible to achieve this goal in the oil and gas, agriculture, and waste sectors at low or no cost. And the key findings of the UNPM report to 2021 is the annual. It highlights the difference between where greenhouse gases are predicted to be in 2030 based on current government commitments and where they need to be to meet the targets in the Paris Agreement. So, to conclude, the report shows that the NDCs are insufficient or fall short. Current commitments put the world on track for a global temperature rise of 2.7 degrees centigrade by the end of the century. The report also finds that the new and updated NDCs introduced by 120 countries on 12th November 2021 shall take only 7.5% of predicted 2030 emissions, while a 55% of reduction is needed to meet the 1.5 degree centigrade targets. So net zero commitment could help and 0.5 degrees of the 2.7 degrees centigrade. So we are not too late. It is not too late. Let us wake up. It is no longer a future problem. It is a problem of today. The clock is ticking loudly. To limit global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade, the next 8 to 9 years will be very crucial to the human race. Greenhouse gases need to be halved. In practice, this means on top of the new NDCs, a further 28 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent of annual emissions must be reduced. An annual drop in emissions of 13 gigatons carbon dioxide equivalent is needed to limit the temperature rise to 2 degrees centigrade. So what would a temperature rise of over 2.7 degrees mean? For the planet, any temperature increase approaching 2.7 degrees centigrade would be a disaster for humanity and many of the planet species, not only human beings, even other species of plants and animals too. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that is IPCC, even an increase of 2 degrees centigrade of temperature would have a major impact on the food security and human health. Even insects, vital for pollination of crops and plants, are likely to lose half their habitat at 1.5 degrees centigrade. This becomes twice as likely at 2 degrees centigrade. The frequency and intensity of droughts, storms, as I told you in the beginning, and extreme weather events will rise with every increment in temperature, as we are already seeing with a global temperature increase over pre-industrial levels of around 1.2 degrees centigrade. Recently, we have witnessed during COVID-19 pandemic stage, it did lead to 5.4% global drop in carbon dioxide into 2020, but it was a temporary reduction. In 2021, levels are predicted to be only slightly lower than the record high of 2019, pushing the carbon dioxide concentrations in the atmosphere to the highest it has been in the last 2 million years. And we have not seen last 2 million years back this kind of high temperature range. Only 17 to 19% of pandemic economic recovery, that is $438 billion out of $2.28 trillion is being used for green recovery and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Of the green recovery, 90% comes from 7 countries, which needs to be expanded. Even many more countries need to be joined in this thing. Then, how can net zero pledges help? People are taking pledges, and how is it going to help plug the emissions gap? So, if you look at the emissions gap report 2021, again, as I told you, mitigation pledges for 2030, it gives a 66% chance of hitting a global temperature rise of 2.7 degrees centigrade by the end of the century. If implemented effectively and reflected in NDCs, a net zero pledges can take 0.5 degrees centigrade off the 2.7 degrees centigrade, coming closer to the 2 degrees centigrade goal of the Paris Agreement. So, to do this, what we need to do is, there is a formula pointed by United Nations Environmental Program in 6-sector solution. 6-sector solution is a roadmap to reducing the emissions across sectors already agreed with the Paris Agreement commitments. These are all industry. Industries are one of the largest contributors of the emissions, and so let us reduce these emissions, the contribution of these emissions to some percentage. They're sending lots of emissions, carbon dioxide, methane, all emissions are from the industries. I think industries should also go for zero emission kind of devices they need to develop in their infrastructure. And agriculture and food sector, they also contribute a lot. I think we need to have revised policies for agriculture and food securities. Forest and land use, there are umpteen number of policies are there. The only thing is it needs an effective policy implementation by the implementers like Forest Department and Minister of Environment and Forest. They have the big challenge to cope with this kind of bringing down the destruction rate of the forest and all this thing. And another contributor is the transport sector, and they also give rise lots of chlorofluorocarbons and all these things. And in urban areas, construction, buildings and urban development, cities and all these things, they are also contributing. I think we need to devise some very effective policies to guide the departments of the country, not only in our country, but globally. I think all these things are being discussed in the COP26, and this is going to end by November 12th. I think let us wait for the report of what the world is now going to give to the their best promises and best guidance, and let us hope things move in a good direction. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, Uma, Saibas, and Earth Center. Thank you for all your words.
Thank you, sir. It's very, very insightful and very, very critical analysis and critical perceptions on the climate change and how to see the world climate neutral. And many things you have touched upon, like net zero emissions and the sectoral roles, industry and all other areas, which sector contributes and what they can do. And you touched upon historical outline how this climate change implications are came evident and these things. And out of your experience and your thoughts and good intentions for the good earth, you have presented a very very beautiful and learning presentation. And it's very enriching on the subject of climate change and biodiversity, sir. I wish your insights will come true and we will achieve climate security, and in this short span of cushion time we can achieve this climate climate neutrality. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And we look forward for more interactions and your insights for the benefit of the good earth and the people. And now we move on to the next speaker. Sir, Dr. Nagarajusar is from Government City College. Anyway, it's a good
Uh-huh.
presentation, sir. And now,
Thank you. Thank you.
You all know very well about it. Now COP26 is going on from the 31st onwards to 12th to discuss about the climate change. From the Earth Summit, first Earth Summit onwards, there's so much of the discussions to control the environmental conditions, environmental pollutions, climate change, to preserve, to conserve our nature, to go back to our nature, to maintain the balance, sustainability in the ecosystem. Next, please, sir. Can I? Yeah, here, from our ancient onwards, the Vedas onwards, we are actually, we feel proud of our Indians. We from our old traditions, we having the plenty of the knowledge about the nature and science and technology. One more small request: all the people, the delegates, are talked about the acts and their effects. So I'm giving just a general talk upon it, just to give to an idea. Okay, that you say here says that the Prakriti, this Prakriti of man is divided eightfold. That's earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intellect, and also egoism. The Panchabhutas. We always pray for the Panchabhutas. Every function, festival, rituals, traditions. We follow these ecological activities, ecosystem activities. The Bhumir Aponalo Vayu Kama. There is certain Kama Mano Buddhir Evakha Aikara Aitihami. Bhumi Prakrit Asthada. Yeah, like that. Environment, the survival environment is required for the survival of human being, not only human beings, for all the living beings. The biodiversity, diversity, variability among the living organisms, all type of the living organisms which are there on the earth, that need the external and internal aspects. The external aspects are Panchabhutas, and internal aspects are our internal things. The next slide, please, sir. Our Vedas time also, we're having the given importance to the earth. We call it as Mother Earth. Mother Earth. Bestow love on a creature living on it. Matha Bhumi Putroha Putrivaha. Oh, Mother. Like that. Next slide, please. We have given so much of the importance to control the pollution. We have given the very much important to the nature, Prakriti. We always, our Indians worship the sun and plants, so some of the animals. The sloka in the Rigveda, Dashakupa Sama Vapi, Dashavapi Samahada, Dashaharda Sama Putro, Dashaputra Sama Dhrumaha. The one pond equal to 10 wells, and a reservoir equal to 10 ponds, one sun equal to 10 reservoirs, but one tree equal to 10 suns. They have what much importance they have given to the nature to conserve. So we should know from about our tradition, nature, before knowing about the climate change effect. Even in the COP26, the first time, this time, our Minister of Environment and Forest also started the discussion with the Sanskrit sloka. First time, our Indian discussed the Sanskrit sloka explanations, the olden times, how we are. With that, they started in this environmental program, convention. That is a priority. We should go back to our science, past back science, to conclude, to preserve, to conserve, to overcome from the climate change. How we have to, what we have to, where, on what way we can. Yeah, so next slide, please, sir. Yeah, here, there, we have plenty of the source to conserve the nature. We know the biodiversity, each and every, one thing, in the planet, the only one planet to live, that is the Earth. We call it as Mata Bhumi, Bhumata, Mother Earth. That having the plenty of the biodiversity, the biodiversity, each and every living organism, the biota, having the importance. Each and every organism, there is no waste plant, there is no waste animal on the planet. what you call it is a pichimoka, waste plant, weed plant, that also having the most valuable one. What about the hair? Some of the hair, suppose Indigofera tinctoria, that very highly valuable indelible ink that prepared from the small herb, which we neglect it. The grasses, we felt it is a waste, but the grass that release the fresh oxygen, because the grass epidermis layer is having the silicon dioxide. That silicon dioxide will release the fresh oxygen, silica and oxygen. So that give the fresh oxygen, so that our mind will be fresh up. We will wake up. We will know that awareness, awakening of our brain. Like that, each and every organism. The simple single fungi yeast. The Saccharomyces cerevisiae. That single yeast making us survive with the bakery items and beverages. Without the yeast, there is no bakery. Bakery people will be bekar. No bread, no cake, puff, all the things, and no beverages without the fermentation. That there is no beverages, beer, brand, whiskey, wine, alcohol. These all the technology also our olden days people are used, but they are not destructed. But what we are doing is we are very much using extinctly that causing for the extinction of the biodiversity. We having so much of the benefits about the biodiversity. The plants only that release the oxygen, already Tulsirao sir said, because of the photosynthesis. If there is no photosynthesis, we can't get the oxygen. That oxygen, we are able to survive with that oxygen only. Otherwise, we have to carry the oxygen cylinders on our back. The corona times, so many died because of the lack of the oxygen cylinder. So like that, in daily life also, we may have to carry the oxygen cylinder. If we can't conserve, we can't save our nature. If we can't survive, we can't know. If we don't know about the nature, if we are not having the awareness about the plant's importance, if we cut all the trees, if we do the deforestation, if it calls for the destruction of the plant, we all have to carry the oxygen cylinders or back. That's what we are getting freely without expending the single NP of the money, because of the plants, because of that plant. That's why our olden people also given more and more importance to the plants. So we also have to give the importance to conserve the nature, to conserve the nature, to protect the nature, to make aware, to prepare, to give it to the future generations. What we are getting now, that also must be the right to enjoy with this nature. Okay, next, please, sir. So, what we can do. We can do more and more. We can protect our nature. We can conserve our, our olden tradition, our olden people, our grandparents, they are mingled with the kettles, animals. Now we are totally mechanized. Whatever the agriculture also we are doing with the mechanized. The trees, so many trees, so much trees, they feel it as a sacred one, like a god. Vepa, tulasi, ashwatha, people, so many trees, they feel like it is a god. Why? Without knowing of the not without knowing of the knowledge, they're having the plenty of the knowledge of that plant. What they give, what they provide, what it is providing to us, how we are surviving with that all they know. But our new technology, new trend people, because of the westernization, we are neglecting our Indian culture. We are totally losing our olden tradition. We are totally getting damage of our own environment. As an environment lover, as an ancient environmentalist of Indian, we are totally forgetting about our nature habitat. We are making aware from the unknown people of the Western countries. They are making aware from us, but now they are making aware us. The what's going on? It is the reverse. We have to make we the leaders to make aware about the nature as an Indian, as a traditional Indian. But what happening? You know that we are having the plenty of the highly medicinal plants, but instead of that, our peoples in the social forestry, whatever the forestry, roadside avenue forestry, they are planting the waste plants and damaging plants, highly polluted plants. That's very bad situation. Tulsi Rao sir is there. I can't say like that. Sorry, but it is the situation is going on. The like Alstonia scholar is Edakula Pala. Instead of our neem, our Ashoka, our so many medicinal plants are there. Instead of that, Edakula Pala that give the bad odor at the flowering season, that cause so many respiratory and even so many disorders also. We can't cut the flowers at the flowering season, all the avenue trees. Instead of that, very highly valuable herbal doctor, neem is there. So many plants, Aswatha plants are there, and so many Pogada, so many plants are there. But we are neglecting our tradition. We are neglecting our plants. Instead of that, we are encouraging invasive species, exotic species. You know, there's so many exotic species that causing extinction of the rich biodiversity, our rich biodiversity, that we will discuss in the next. Okay, you having a next slide, please, sir. Sir, next slide, please. You know that our India is the one of the 17 mega biodiversity country. We're having the rich, plenty of the resources, various sources of the 91,000 above species of the animals, 46,000 above species of the plants. We're having the plenty of various geographical regions, topographical regions, climatic conditions. Because of that, we feel proud of it. We're having the plenty of the biodiversity. We have the rich biodiversity. We the one of the 17 mega biodiversity countries of the world, total 192 countries. We the one of the 17 countries. Before that, only 12 mega biodiversity countries are there. Recently, five mega biodiversity countries added. You know, Australia, Brazil, China, Colombia, Democratic Republic Congo recently added. Ecuador, India, Indonesia, Madagascar, Malaysia, Mexico, New Guinea also recently added. Peru, Philippines, South Africa. These are Venezuela. These also recently added. These 17 mega biodiversity countries, they're having the rich biodiversity. They're having the variety of the biodiversity, rich biodiversity. These all the areas we need to conserve. Because of the poor and because of the unknowing, a lot of the biodiversity is losing. Because of the poverty, because of the poorness, because of the unknowing, we are losing so much of the biodiversity. Whatever the highly medicinal biodiversity of fungus, mushrooms, that being kept by illiterate people, that is carrying forward to China. They are preparing the medicines from that mushroom. You know, the palace in our local, we call it as uppalamma, that give the bad odor at the ripening time. That fungus, that earning $360 billion to our India, it's single fungi, single mushroom. Like that Ganoderma also caused to being earned $1 billion of the money, single species. Like that, so many plenty highly rich value biodiversity there in our India. We have to explore it. We have to know, make about it, aware about it. By that, we automatically will conserve. One thing is, we are not making aware about it. We are going to the technology side. We are forgetting the nature. We are forgetting the environment. We are totally molded to system, software, technology. Though we needed the technology, system, software, but we need primarily the nature, knowing about the nature, knowing about the environment. That is most important. You know, the next slide, please, sir. You know, our India having the most different biogeographical topographical areas. We are having the 10 biogeographical areas. Our India also recognized one of the 8 Babylonian sectors. That means origin of the diversity. So many croplands are originated from our India. So many cropland. The paddy, what we are now, because of the green revolution, we lost so much of the varieties of our golden seed bank, we lost. But olden days, before the green revolution, we having the 20,000 varieties of the paddy varieties. But now, because of the hybridization, because of the green revolution, Norman Borlaug, our Swaminathan, they are meant for the best cost for the production of the high amount of the food, but now it is totally getting damaged. Our environment, our ecosystem, our soil will become from fertile to sessile. It become the total sessile because of the high usage of the fertilizers, high usage of the pesticides. Without needing of it, our soil having the plenty of the microbes, mycorrhiza, bacteria that supply the nutrient which needed to the plant. There is always symbiotism is there between the plant and soil. They can get the nutrition, but because of the industrialization, because of the I can't say that. Because of that, we losing our soil fertility. Our soil, especially Indian soil, having a millions of the microbes that are eco-friendly. That all we are losing because of the green revolution, because of the more usage of the fertilizers and pesticides, because of the BT, we losing our diversity, our gene bank, our seed bank. We have the more than 300 wild ancestors of close relatives of the cultivated plants. Our banana, paddy, wheat, and brinjal, mango, coconut. These are our ancestors, our origins. So next, please, sir. That's what I told you. There's so many plenty of the microorganisms are there in the soil. That is making our soil become fertile. They are eco-friendly. They are giving all the nutrients which are needed to the plant. They are having the supply chain to supply the nutrients to the plant. So only one thing is we have to go back to nature, and we need not to discuss more about how to do like that. Just one thing is you have to go back. What our olden people have done. If we do that, we the leaders, we the first people to save the nature, to conserve the nature, to preserve the nature, to give back the carbon level in our environment. Next, please, sir. What the plants they do, it cover the stability of it give the stability of the soil and prevent the land erosion. That's why our ancestors given the importance to the plants. You see, enhance the land's capacity to store the water, stop the erosion, soil erosion. So moderate air, soil, and soil temperature also will be moderated with the plants. Help repair climate cycle with the plants. Reduce drought and floods. The supports biodiversity, which are plants and animals which are there in that habitat, and draws down the carbon level. What we are discussing, we have to drop down the carbon dioxide level. We have to drop down the carbon dioxide level. But we are increasing the industries. We are releasing the emissions, wastages, pollutants into the rivers and air without any thinking of it. No, though we having the pollution control board, so many acts are there, pollution act, water act, air act, so many acts are there. But what it is doing? Nothing. These all totally molded to high level people. Who they are the more industrialists, who they are the they can maintain with the money, not with the common people. If they follow the common people, if they know the environment, our Indian Constitution, if we follow strictly our Indian Constitution, we having all the rules and controls, conservation acts, all the acts are there, so that we can easily can save, can conserve best before all the countries, of course. But sorry to say, our constitution is totally being misplaced, misused by so-called people. That is sorry to say. That give our ecotourism culture. Next, please, sir. I already told you the plant-soil interaction is there. That we are breaking by using the fertilizers and pesticides. Have you ever seen the Bhumi picture? Because of the fertilizers and pesticides, we are losing our total fertile soil, will become the soil, unfertile soil, wasteland, barren land. Olden days, what we have done? We use the decomposed materials, green, what we call it as biofertilizers and pachi rotta and excretory materials of the animals that we decompose and we spread in the early season of in the fields. That what all the world will be following. Now it is following. That is our old ancient method. What we have done. That being teach by others. Now we are following the organic cultivation. That's our olden days. So that's there before Green Revolution in our India. We totally spoiled because of the Green Revolution. But now again, we are telling about the organic revolution. Organic revolution. With that, we can survive. We can make survive our microorganisms which are there, which do helpful to the plants and all the living biota. We having the 78% of the nitrogen in the atmosphere. Can any plant, can any animal can use the 78% of the nitrogen? No. Why? Any ammonia, urea makers, they are preparing from the atmospheric nitrogen? No. Only microorganisms, only microbes which are there in the soil. The rhizobacterium and mycorrhiza, the fungus, bacteria only can absorb the atmospheric nitrogen of 78%, and it convert into ammonia, whatever we are using, ammonia and nitrates. That is the usage of the living beings, biodiversity, which are doing naturally. Only thing is we don't disturb the natural biodiversity. That's enough. We are totally distracted, we totally destroyed. Now we are talking about the conservation. We are talking about the climate change. We are talking about the control, draw down of the carbon dioxide. How it is possible? By cutting all the forests, by cutting the trees. How? The carbon dioxide, it is a misery, Pishinai. It absorbs the more and more heat and it can't release out. So automatically our atmosphere temperature will increase. That cause the global warming. That these all the common people also know, but we think we only know. We technology people only know the green revolution, global warming. No, you don't know. Even Nobel laureates also they don't know. I think about that. What our tradition people know. Only thing we have to follow. Even so many Nobel laureates, they said, Einstein also said, we taken the single sentence of Shloka to invent this. But we neglect our olden tradition, our olden culture, olden ancient literature. Sorry to say. Next, please. We have the plenty of the benefits with the soil biodiversity. What the soil biota is there, the fungi, microbes, mycorrhiza, algae, bacteria, this all doing help to the health. It make healthy soil. Using in the climate change mitigation, and adaptations, and also in the water purification purpose, and also for the human health and for the plant growth purpose, the soil biota which are there in the soil, that is making preserve, making conserve, making healthy and wealthy, making us healthy and wealthy. That's what we should know, instead of all the things talking about it. What we are getting benefit. If we know the benefit of that, automatically we will conserve. Without knowing of that, intentionally we will conserve it. That's what you should know. That's why I'm discussing it. Sorry, I'm not taking about the now present situation, climate change acts. I just want to make aware about the biodiversity. Okay, the next slide, please. The mycorrhiza, how it is. Have you seen the roots? That roots having the mycorrhiza, that roots which are there with mycorrhiza, this is associated with the root having the highest network than our telephonic or whatever the internet network. Having the very lengthy network, that's plant having the very lengthy network. These can symbiont, this can make association with the nearby plants, with surrounding plants, which they can interchange the nitrates, ammonia, nutrients, phosphorus, that can supply, interchange, just because of the mycorrhiza. Do you know? You should know that with that we don't contaminate. We don't contaminate the soil. If you know that, only thing is you should know that what the benefit of that in the soil, natural soil, uncontaminated, unused fertilizers and pesticide soil. That network, how much of the network is there? That network is more than our Google or whatever it is, the network. That's having the plants in association with the microbes. That we have to preserve, that we have to conserve. What we are doing is by using the fertilizers and pesticides, we are damaging the microbiota which are there in the soil. So how the total fertile soil will become the sessile. The soil fertility is getting damaged. The automatically CO2 level increase, all the things happen. All the hazards are also released. All the damaging pollutants also released. Temperature also will increase. The next slide, please. Next slide, please, sir. The change effect, how the climate change affects. It affects so much. Already discussed, our delegates discussed how it affects the climate change. It causes so much of the disorders to our health. Not only to the plants, all the human beings, all the living beings being affected with the climate change. The raising of the carbon dioxide level, increasing of the temperature, more extreme weather events, and climbing increasing the sea levels. That all cause for the severe weather conditions, weather condition, air pollutions, more allergens, that impact on water quality, so much extreme heat. This all cause for the so many health problems, injuries, mental disorders, asthma, cardio problems, and seasonal diseases like the malaria, dengue, because of climate change. Because of climate change, we lost our insectivorous plants. We are losing our insectivorous plants, like whatever the chrysanthemum. Some plants are there that we are losing because of the invasive species also. The parthenium that came from the US with the weeds. That now that widely spread in our India everywhere. That is dominating our medicinal herbs, medicinal shrubs and medicinal herbs which are growing widely, that are being dominated with the parthenium. The invasive species we have the other. Okay, and then the lantana, lantana species that also widely spread in the forest, that is damaging the natural flora which are there in the mountain and hills and the forest, dense forest areas. And the Icornia, that is totally causing the sink of the ponds, lakes. That is the one of the great advantage to the encroachers, to encroach the ponds, rivers, and even lakes. If you spread the Icornia, Gurravadikka, within the short span of the time, that pond, lake will be sink and it will be totally filled with the dust and wastages of the Icornia. So easily the lake pond width will be decreased. That area, that decrease, whatever the area encroached by the Icornia, now being built apartments, stores of the apartments. In our Hyderabad, before 20 years back, 300 above lakes are there. Now it might be 30 also not there. That are totally encroaching. That also causing the climate change. What happening? Total streets, total houses also filling with the rainwater. Unseasonal rain, overheating, over temperature, unseasonal rains, unseasonal floods. Encroaching. That is one of the causes of the invasive species. Like that, I already told you, Alstonia and Calocarpus. Now they are widely growing the Calocarpus in the roadside. That's a mangrove plant, but it is growing in the roadsides. That also causing the major environment loss to the nearby plant, nearby microbiota, nearby herbs. That we are, without knowing of that, we are losing our biota by encouraging the outside plants to our India. Without the knowledge, sorry, they are planting that instead of our natural environmental eco-friendly plants. They are growing that, like that invading species, exotic species, and so many migrant species. That all causing. Next, please. What the climate change. Sir, before that slide, please. Sir, before that. Okay. Yeah, the social and economic impacts, how it impacting the climate change. It relocating the all towns what are there. Our village is going to vanish, and cities, towns will be rising. All the whatever agriculture lands will be barren because of the real estate. We also allow the development, but we also need the environment to survive. Whatever the effects that is causing the climate change, and social and economic impact, how it impact. So many diseases are causing now. The corona, like that, dengue, like there are so many yellow fever, so many that are causing because of the extreme environmental conditions, extreme meteorological phenomena, and whatever the consumers levels also increase, and the loss of capacity of work also happening now. Our golden people, they could able to do more and more work. They could able to walk more and run more and more kilometers. They can carry the weight of the 50 kgs. But what our tech people, what our nowadays people, what our new generation, they can't carry even 10 kgs to 10 kilometers. They can't run at least 2 kilometers. What is happening? Because of the climate change, because of the polluted, because of the pesticide, fertilizers usage, crops, because of the unhealthy food, because of the fully loaded biomass of the wastage pesticides, fully accumulation, bioaccumulation of the pesticides and fertilizers. You know, because of the bioaccumulation of the pesticides and fertilizers, our eagles, owls are totally getting vanished. The eye level accumulation is going on there. You know, our capacity of the power level also decreasing because of the climate change, because of this industrialization, because of this uh, pollutions that are emitting from the those all the things. We lost the fresh water. You know, the 10 years back, we could able to drink water from the river, lakes directly. Just 15 years, 20 years back, before 2000, we could able to drink the water freshly anywhere in the forest, anywhere, even in the small ponds and lakes also. But can you drink directly now? Can't, because it is fully loaded with the pesticides and fertilizers. It's fully loaded with the banned chemicals. That's why our farmers are being died. Well, we all know. Next, please. If we discuss like this, so much of the time it takes. Next slide, please. Okay. You know, the how the changes occur. Global temperature will increase. That cause for the melting of the ice in the polar regions. That dip the so many coastal cities. That also loss for the, so much of the civilization. That also cause loss of the, so much of the civilization. We lost so much of the genetic diversity because of the climate change. Already we lost, Tulsi Rao sir said, 85% of the birds, 70% of the things, so many are because become extinct, because in endangered level, in the vulnerable situations. So like that, so much of the vegetation also we are being lost with the climate change, increasing the pollution level, increasing the sea levels, that all cause for the, so much of the damage. Next, please. The you know, the before that, please. Okay. You know, the biggest threats to our biodiversity, mainly climate change. How we are changing our climate. Instead of natural climate, we are making an artificial climate. Changes in the land use levels, and what are the over exploitation of the species and invasive species and diseases and pollution. These all are causing the big loss. Next please. There is so much of the integrated change, the biodiversity assessment, how the climate change is causing effect on the biodiversity. Next, please. What are the main causes of the biodiversity loss? You know, our habitat destruction, global warming, over exploitation and pollution, and accent whatever the precautions, and non-native species. Because of the non-native species, so much of the highly valuable rich biota we lost. We don't know now we are not studying the natural sciences. We are going the technology, biotechnology, something. Without knowing the plant, they are doing the research, they are publishing the paper. But they don't know the value of the nature, value of the plant, value of that nature, value of that biota. If they know, they give the importance. They easily automatically stop the BTs. Okay, next please. There is so much of the threats, so many threats are there. We already saw all discussed threats to the biodiversity that are causing climate change, habitat loss, pollution, invasive species, over exploitation of the natural resources, other potential threats. You know, some of the insects that are causing totally loss to the biodiversity. Next, please. You know, next, please, sir. Sir, please, next slide, please. Our global diversity, you know, the steep in the decline. Before that, please. Before that, we already. Please, go back. Hi, go back, please. Sir, any instruction to stop up? Please go back, please. Okay. Now, WWF madam said, as per report, a steep decline is going on. It is warning us, a warning flagship to us. So next slide, please. Next to this. Okay. Warning flagship. The 68% loss in between these 30 years, just 20 years, 50 years. Already Tulasirao sir said 75% of the Earth ice pre-land surface already been significantly altered. The more than 85% of the area of the wetland has been lost. You see here how it is. They are losing agriculture and patterns. This all are getting affected with this. How they are damaging, how much percentage of the each biota is losing agriculture level and aquaculture level, and so much of the that are causing the destruction. Next, please. I already told you the invasive species that is causing so much of the loss of the biodiversity. Nearly 40% of the animal extinction is caused because of the invasive species. I think because of the Alstonia, all the young generation software people will become unfertile by inhale that smell at the night time. Our population also will decrease, no problem. We may not dominate the China because of this invasive species, because of the climate change, because of the unwanted changes in the environment. So many biotas that are entering into our natural bio sources, environment, that is damaging our natural native species. Next, please, sir. So much of the threats are there. Before that, please. So much of the threats before that slide, please. Okay. There's so many threats are there to the biodiversity. I already discussed urbanization, deforestation, agriculture expansion, eutrophications, or growing of the algal biota that cause loss of the oxygen to the aquatic biota. And forest fires, now the Amazon forest fire, so many forest fires are being happen that cause so much of the loss of the biodiversity. So many microbes, so many herbs and shrubs along with the trees are being vanished from the world, from the universe. So many are being lost. The exploitation of the water resources, almost all the water resources are contaminated, no problem. There is no even 1 to 5% also we can't get the fresh water. The waste disposals, we as highly technology, highly educated people, we are damaging highly with our waste, plastic wastes. Because of the plastic pollution, our oceanic biota is being damaged. Totally, maybe totally vanished. Overgrazing, poaching. Next, please, sir. Beyond the loss of biodiversity levels, how it is, if you do like this, in the next decade, next century, how it is the percentage, we may lose so much of the diversity. Next, please, sir. You're having so many acts, I already told you, Indian acts was related to environment and biodiversity. I already discussed you, Fisheries Act, Indian Forest Act, Mining and Mineral Development Act, Prevention, Air Pollution and Prevention Act, Environmental Protection Act, Biological Diversity Act, Scheduled Tribes and Traditional Forest Acts. So many are there. And policies related to policies also is there. National Forest Policy, National Conservation Strategy, and Policy Statement, and Environment and Development Policy. Like that, so many policies: National Biodiversity Action Plan, National Agriculture Policy, National Water Policy, National Environmental Policy. These are all there. If we follow strictly, if we will be preserve, we can conserve our nature. Next, please, sir. The legislations also are there. Next, please, sir. Next slide. And so many legislations also, their acts are there to conserve, to follow, to preserve our nature, to maintain the ecological balance, to maintain the sustainability. Next, please, sir. Diya santir antarikshan shanti, pridhi shantirapa shantiraso odaya vanaspataha shanti vishwadesha shanti brahma shanti sarva shanti santi deva shantiha shama shantire. There is a sloka in Yajurveda. That time on we said, now also we have to follow this sloka. We have to follow all the modern people, technology people, new generation people have to follow this. Let them be balanced the space. Let there be balance in the sky. Let there be peace on the earth. Let there be calmness. Let there be growth in the plant. Let there be growth in the tree. Let there be grace in the gods. Let there be bliss in the Brahma. Let there be balance in everything. Let there be peace, peace, peace. Let such peace be with every one of us, so that we, the masters, we, the leaders, we become the earth leaders, we become the world leaders. If we follow our world ancient sage, this one, our new trend, our new developed countries also have to follow these sloka. With that only, we will be free from the pollution, we will be free from the climate change. We can minimize, we can reduce the levels of the pollution. We can maintain the climate without damaging. We can survive with healthy and wealthy. We will be give the more valuable health and climate environment for the future generations by following the sustainable development, by following the nature, by following our tradition, culture, ancient people. We will do the more level best than all the discussions going on in the world. I think all the people, let them know this Shanti mantra. I pray God to all the world people have to follow this said this sloka to maintain the climate evergreen, healthy. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Sorry for the inconvenience. Sorry for the late. Sorry for the more and more. Okay, sir. Stop it. Sir. We can stop it with that. Okay, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, thank you very much for giving time. You bear with me.